Are you ready to lose those love handles? Do you work hard to stay in shape and eat healthy, yet you can't get rid of stubborn fat? Now there's a clinically proven way to help you look slimmer without surgery or downtime. It's called Sculpture. Sculpture's innovative procedure destroys fat in just 25 minutes with visible results as quickly as 6 weeks. Sculpture sounds amazing, right? Check it out for yourself by clicking on the banner or go to goodbyefat.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell. And you're listening to it on the WIN Network. Yes, that's right, WIN Network. Together, we win. Stay tuned. Hand it down, praise. Let it out, shackles, the chain, the hurt, the guilt, the stain. I'm more than a conqueror. I'm more than a victim. I fight, I win. The chains are broken. 'Cause I reign, you reign, we reign, he reigns. I reign, we reign together, together.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show, and we are live this evening. Thank you for joining us tonight, my friends. I am Minister Annie Bell, the host and creator of R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show, which is an outreach of Wealth Management Ministries. We are endeavoring to bring talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas, as well as providing awareness, prevention, and resources to the community. Well, tonight is our season finale. It has been a wonderful season, and it has, God has really brought us a long way, and He's allowed us to go higher heights and spread even further abroad. So our topic tonight is called Life in the Aftermath of Trauma. And if one thing I hope that you have learned while watching or listening my show is that our spirit, the human spirit, is so resilient. Even after abuse and trauma, events occur when traumatic events occur in our lives, we are still able to rise up from it and make a life completely different than what our past tried to dictate. We are not our past. And I think that is a wonderful thing that we are able to start afresh. That is the case for my panel of guests this evening. And I want to welcome Lamarc Bishop, Mary Fields, and Rhoda Ross Williams to the show. Welcome to the show, ladies and gents.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes. We had an opportunity to meet at the Black Girls Die 2 movie premiere, and a great cast. And one thing that I have realized is that when you have a gathering of people, there is going to be someone who is a survivor, if not currently a victim. And that is what the statistics show. They show that 1 in 4 females and 1 in 6 males actually go through some type of abuse or a traumatic event in their lives. And that is the case even with on the set of Black Girls Die 2, the Backpage Murders. Just from the cast, there was at least 7 individuals who had said that they have been either abused or witnessed abuse, or gone through trauma. Tonight we have three of you all that has either witnessed or gone through some type of trauma. So I want our listening audience to get to know you. Let's start with you, Lamarc. Please tell us what city and state you're in and share your story of abuse or trauma.
Well, I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I have been here for a year and a half.
Okay.
My stories with abuse, it dates back many years. My childhood, actually. My mother had a best friend once, and I remember very vaguely. She would come to the house, and her and my mom, they would gossip in the living room, and she would always say, can you go get me a drink, go get me a soda. But I also noticed each time she would come, she would always tell my mother, your boys are just so handsome. They're just the cutest little boys. Come here and give your auntie a kiss. Come here. And it was just, we did that. If auntie said come here, we did it. No big deal. And so I recall on this particular day, she asked my mother to get her a soda. And my mom went to the kitchen and she said, come here, give me a kiss. And she kissed me. But it was different from the kisses that she gave before. Before she would kiss our cheeks really hard or something like that. But this time she kissed my mouth. And she kissed my mouth hard. She kissed me like a woman would kiss her husband. And of course, being a child, I didn't know what was going on. And she would tell me, don't tell your mom or you're going to get a whooping. And I don't know about anybody else, but, back in the day, my mama could give some whoppers, boy. They don't make them like that no more.
No.
And so, or you'll just get in trouble. And so every time she would come, I would watch her come down the street, and I would purposely go outside and do something different, but she would send for me. And it was the same thing, and this went on for a while. And then all of a sudden, she stopped coming. I never told my mother. I didn't tell my mother until I was 25. And even at 25, my mother cried. And she asked me why didn't I tell. And the answer was simple, because she told me not to. And she told me if I did, you would be mad at me. I would get in big trouble. She wouldn't believe me. Just all of these different things.
So, Lamarc, when she, I know she started out with the kisses, and was there any other violations?
None that I can remember. None that I can remember. But that in itself, that experience in itself, in my opinion, was more than enough.
Definitely. Never want to discount.
Especially for a little boy that doesn't know what's going on.
Exactly. When a child's ideal of what life is supposed to be like for them, when it's breached, it has cause for trauma, and every child deserves the right to be able to heal from that. And you said that was not your first traumatic event. What was the other?
So, as I got older, my mom, she married my youngest brother, his dad, and I can just remember them always having these huge arguments, and the things that he would say to my mother, you could just only imagine it. Things that just a man shouldn't say to a woman.
Yeah.
So I remember so many times I would hear banging and things of that nature. And this one particular day, they were in the backyard, and I remember him body slamming my mother. and kicking my mother, throwing her on the ground. And so I don't know. I guess my older brother and I, we were just screaming and yelling, and it was over. And she made us, my brother and I, she made us promise as long as we lived to never strike a woman, and that resonated with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I can recall being in a toxic relationship with a woman when I was 20. I was a sheltered young man. I was what the other kids would call Joe on the porch, which basically meant that's where my mother kept me, on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
I had a curfew till I was 19, if that'll help you out. And so, but when I was able to come off the porch, I came off with a vengeance. And so I went out and I got one really fast, and it was the wrong one. This young lady was from a completely different environment, a completely different background, and we would have these spats. And again, she would say things to me that my stepfather would say to my mother. And then one day it came to a complete head. She slapped me. And I had an out-of-body experience when that happened.
Oh, my God, yes.
Yeah, I stepped out of myself and said, "Self?" And myself said, "Huh?" And I said, "Did she just slap you?" And myself said, "Uh-huh." "Well, what you gonna do?" "I don't know." And I believe because I didn't react, that opened the door to continue more, and it went from a slap to a scratch to a punch to being hit with broom handles and curtain rods and things of that nature.
Wow, it kind of came full circle for you.
Mm-hmm. It did.
Mm-hmm.
It did.
Yeah. Wow. I want to take a moment and bring in our other guest, but I will come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about that cycle that continues even when we are a witness to trauma, because that is a traumatic event for us. So the next person that I want to talk to is Mary Fields. I'm going to ask you the same thing. Where are you residing? And tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay. I live in Atlanta, Georgia right now. I've been here since 2005, so I've been here a pretty long time now. Abuse. I don't even know where to really start.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed to kind of be the norm for me growing up for a while.
Mm-hmm.
There are several cases in my life, physical and sexual. Physical abuse by my mom, and sexual abuse by my grandfather and my cousin. And I'll say my mom's boyfriend, but that was physical with him. It was horrible. And growing up, basically, I guess, as a child, in order to cope, you kind of learn how to block things out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's basically what I did. When I was 6 years old, my mom's boyfriend at that time, who was also a drug addict, he used to walk around the house naked, and she'd leave me alone with him. And she didn't know that was going on. But at that time, too, she wasn't listening to anything that I would have to say. Mm-hmm. And so there was a particular time that he was pretending to put me in the oven. And he said, if I didn't stop crying. And so he opened up the oven door and, proceeded to put me in playfully. But he didn't know or realize, because he was strung out, that the oven was on. Oh, and when I screamed out in pain, because my wrist got burned, I still have that scar still there. He tried to feed my mom some excuse. And my aunt kept trying to talk to my mom and tell her something's not right. with what's going on there, because when I was with her, I kind of would tell her the things that was going on. And so one day she snuck up and she heard whimpering, in the house. And she asked him, where's my niece? And she found me in the dark basement whimpering at the top of the steps. And she basically told him, if you ever touch, my niece again, I will shoot you between the eyes.
That's right. I mean, I'm not condoning killing, but somebody got to stick up for the babies. How old were you when this was happening?
I was
5. And so he was. He had already started raping you, or was it at the time inappropriate touches?
No, he just would do evil things, like I said, playfully playing in the oven. If you cry, I'm going to do this to you. So he was one of the physical abusers.
Okay.
He was, with everything that he did, it was like he didn't care because he was strung out on drugs, and he literally would put the stuff out on the table doing what he does around me while she was gone. She was gone to work, or she was gone somewhere to do whatever. So that was him. But she did finally leave him because my aunt talked to her and told her what was going on. So she left him. But
praise God for your aunt.
She herself was a physical abuser. And so when I would be with my aunt again, she would see these bruises and these scars. And so her and another one of my aunts planned, together to kidnap me from my mom, which they did. And I was 6.5 at that time. And so basically it was kind of weird because the police, and I know this time I'm thinking I think the courts would get involved, but that was so long ago. It was kind of like the police asked, who do you want to go live with? But because neither one of those aunts were married, I didn't end up with them. I ended up with my step-grandmother and my grandfather. And that's a whole other story in itself on how that happened. But
wow. Is that's the grandfather that molested you?
Yes. And so I went from one abusive place to another, but just a different type of abuse.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was 7 and basically started playing with fire at that time as something that I was just doing at the time, and almost burned down the house. So that's how I ended ended up with my aunt who had kidnapped me from my mom. So, yeah, those were a few.
Oh, my gosh.
And when my cousin, when he did it, he was 10, and I was 9. He called himself playing house. But I will say this. As I got older, I understood where that came from with him. And when we were older, he basically came to me when I was 19, and he said he apologized, and he was so distraught about it, and asked me did I remember what happened, and I said, yeah, but I blocked it out. That's what I told him. I blocked it out. Yeah, I'm not going back there. The reason that he came to me and asked me that was because he had a friend who said that they were with someone that they just found out after almost 2 years they were first cousins. And so we asked them, are you going to stay with this person? And they were like, yeah. So, but I can see the hurt in his eyes. But I say this, that at the time we both was witnessing his mother we would sometimes be at the end of the bed while they were having sex with us watching TV, but at the end of the bed. And so he was doing what he saw. And we witnessed a lot of fighting, and I'm talking about physical fighting, throwing vases, choking, with his mom and whatever God she was with at the time. So that's kind of where it came from, I believe, with him. Now, my grandfather, he was a devout alcoholic, and so even with them, he ended up, my step-grandmother ended up in a wheelchair for life. She had a stroke and ended up in a wheelchair where she only had, the use of one arm. She couldn't walk or do anything, but was basically paralyzed. And I did witness their daughters at the time, they beat him down. Like my grandfather, they beat him down. I did not know why, but I'm assuming that they must have found out something or something happened at that time where it caused that.
You know, Mary, we're going to take a quick break, and then I want to come back and allow you to finish up. So much happened in your life, especially, you know, in that short span of time. So when we come back, we can hear the rest of your story before we go on to talk to Rhoda. Everybody, please keep your cheeks in the seats, and we'll be right back.
Have you priced commercials lately? Advertising can truly break your budget. At R.E.I.G.N, we eliminate the most common hurdle to advertising. Advertise with R.E.I.G.N to reach potential customers locally, nationally, and internationally for as low as $150. Yes, that's right, $150 per commercial. We Inspire Network Radio is a new and rapidly growing online radio network that boasts of dynamic seasoned show hosts who are drawing audiences from across the nation and abroad. Africa, Australia, Scotland, Canada, just to name a few. We also have the technical capabilities to advertise your products and services through sound bites, slideshows, and more. No long-term contracts. You pay per show. Advertise on R.E.I.G.N, and you are sure to be a winner. For more information, call us 201-477-0469. Email Annie Bell at wealthmanagement-fs.org.
Welcome back to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
Hello, everyone. We are just past the first quarter hour, and we're talking with our panel of guests who was a part of the cast of Black Girls Die Too, the Backpage Murders. And those who have been following me know that we went to the movie premiere, and just had a blast meeting the cast and the crew. But tonight, I have a few of them with me here, and to talk about some of their own stories. And so we are here with Lamarc Bishop, and Mary Fields, and Rhoda Ross Williams. Thank you, everyone, for staying put while we took that quick break. Now, Mary, you were, I think, just about to finish up on some of the things that you had gone through, the physical abuse, sexual abuse. Was there anything else you would like to add?
No, those are basically one of the most hideous things that basically happened. Like I said, it just seems to be, as a child, that it kind of was the norm. You know, and until I went with my aunt, and, you know, but then a couple of years of peace, and then that cousin that I was telling you about, her, you know, him and the aunt came and stayed with us for that year, and that's when that happened.
Well,
and so, you know,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It just, like I said, growing up, I don't know how at those particular times that I just kept going on and on and on. But like I said, as a coping mechanism, you know, I was able to block things out and you know, keep going, you know, and not let it take over my life, because it could have. And in a way, it kind of did affect me. It did affect me. It had some effect, but
oh, sure.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have been able to function with it, with the memories of it, but when abuse occurs, especially to a child, it derails their development. And so, you know, that now, like I said, you may have been able to cope better than the next person, but there's definitely some derailment of your development, you know. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is, I don't know what there's a trend going on where boyfriends are allowed too much access to our children. And And they tend to rape and abuse. I just put up an article on our Facebook group. The little boy who was raped by his mother's boyfriend, he actually bled to death because the sodomizing was so rough on that, and he was only 4. Was so rough. The anal sex was so rough. I'm sorry, not the sex, the anal rape, because sex is consensual. Was so rough that he bled to death in the back seat of the car. Instead of them rushing him to the hospital, the mother didn't even call the police. She was going to help. She was trying to help him cast the body away. So they put him in an abandoned building.
God.
So the mother is just, to me, as a culprit as he was. And we have to be careful. And I'm not saying single women, I'm not single, but single women single mothers have to stay single. I'm not saying that at all. But we need to vet the people that we're dating, that we're allowing access to our children. Yeah, we need to find out more about them. We need to check on their social security number, what's going on, where have you been, look for them on the sex offenders list. I mean, you vet them like you about to loan them some money. That's what I think. Check them out first. And then afterwards, check them again and keep your eyes on them, because there are men who are looking for single mothers so that they can have access to their sons and daughters. So, and boys, it's rough for both of them, but boys, because of the stigma, normally will never say anything, even until they get up into the adult age, like Lamarc, what happened with him. He kept it inside because there's such a stigma. It's either, oh, shoot, no, that is nothing. You should be glad somebody, wanted to do that or whatever. Or if it was a male on male, then the shame, because of the they think, oh, am I homosexual or whatever have you, so they don't talk about it. And so there is so much pain for the male population added because they don't feel at liberty to talk about it. Rhoda, I want to bring you in at this point. Rhoda Ross Williams, she is also an author. Tell us about where you reside and a little bit about your trauma.
Okay. Well, I currently reside in Edens, Georgia, which is a part of the Augusta, Georgia metro. I'm a native of Valdosta, Georgia. I've only resided in this area for 2 years. And with that being said, my background comes from an abusive marriage. My husband and I were married approximately on paper 5 years, but we were only together physically 3 of those 5. Took 2 years to finalize the divorce. So in saying that, the biggest trauma of the abuse came, he was an alcoholic. But he was a functioning alcoholic, and there were more peaceful days than bad days, but any day that's bad in a marriage is not a good day in a marriage. Straw that broke the camel's back when I had my youngest daughter, and I wrote a book about her, which is titled Positive Winning Soul, Defeating Chronic. And in the book, it talks about the abuse. The chapter in the book is chapter 4. The title of the chapter is The Punch. When I had my daughter, Rochelle, she was born with this rare disability. We had no idea she was going to have these issues. She was born an emergency cesarean because we had all of our amnios and to make sure that the child was not going to have any issues because there was red flags. And so since the amnio said she would be fine, we did not do any drastic measures that would suggest that medically terminate the pregnancy. The child was going to be chronically disabled. Therefore, moving forward, that wasn't God's plan. So in saying that, my husband was very upset because I chose not to be in on the baby. And it's saying that I myself as a mother, the abuse was a duel. It was a two-way street. In my book, I mentioned that from either person in a marriage, whether it's from one, the other, or both parties, is not good for your children. So in saying that, it became a brawl in the hospital. We got into a fist fight in the hospital. I had staples in my stomach. I attacked him. He did not attack me. I can say that, and I can be honest. And I did it because I just had a child, and you're telling me to let my baby die. And I lost. But that's on. And I don't condone any type of violence in a marriage, and I make that very clear in this book. So we went forward to end our marriage because I knew she had problems way before she was born with alcoholism, that we argued all the time. Sometimes it became physical. But the drama was just already there. So having a sick child to add to that made it even worse. And I became just as violent and aggressive as she has been throughout that marriage. I divorced my husband was finalized in 2003. And I have three people that are caring for our child with all of her extreme needs that she has. But walking away from that marriage, I could tell anyone, my husband was the main provider for me and my children. I have 2 children, and the other child was also sick. And having 2 sick children, to being a single mother at the time was cheating, losing the breadwinner in the household. But I made it work. And I tell anyone, if you have children, if you're in a marriage, no matter how much of a breadwinner is, if it's going to be traumatizing to your children or jeopardize the well-being of and your children, that is no place to stay. Because they are the provider. Don't let that be your reason to put your children through that trauma and drama of living through a fist fight every other month or every so often. Because we had our brawl. We would have a brawl every other month before I had the baby. It became so dysfunctional. It was like living in a war zone at times because of his alcoholism made him that way. And no badgering of him because he's not alive, but there are police reports to validate everything that I say about my dysfunctional marriage. No insult to the fact of his memory. He passed away in 2008, but throughout our divorce, it was also very serious. It took the divorce process. It was him coming to the house, threatening me, doing all kinds of things, such as he's asked to go around picking his brain, try to kill me. I was chased down the street, running with my children, and we lived in a very rural area, and it was very dark. I'll never forget, it was on a Sunday night, and I was running my bike. I had my baby with her heart monitor on my shoulders, running with her and my little 3-year-old at the time, running down this dark road for our lives. And out of nowhere, through the grace of God, somebody saw us running and stopped. He was running behind us, and he was going to kill me and my children. So with that being said, going through all of that trauma and drama at that time in our lives, through the divorce as well as family, it left an impact not just me, but also my oldest daughter. And to this day, she has post-traumatic stress disorder as well as I have post-traumatic stress disorder.
That's right.
From that trauma in our lives. It was a 2-year trauma. It was horrible through the process of the divorce. It was so bad that I actually had to have sheriff deputies in front of my house in the morning and at night, throughout the night, just so I could take my children to school or my kids to safe night. It got so bad that I had to take refuge with my children, and I had to go and live with my grandmother for almost a year until I could get myself together to leave what we had been living since we started for the divorce, filed for the divorce, because he made my life and my children's lives a living hell. It was so hard for me to explain to my daughter why she could just go outside and play. It was that bad when we lived in the house that I stayed in when I first filed for divorce. And he was not going to rent until I left the house. It got so bad. The sheriff's department and the deputy talked to me and my family, and they said, we cannot assure that he's not going to kill her and kill her. So somebody take her in for the kids' life. These kids are sick, work professional, and I guess I work for a local school at the time. And coming from a community where my dad was also a well-known pastor, people.
Now, Rhoda, if I could interrupt you, we got to take a brief commercial break, and then we'll come back and let you finish that off. But everybody, please take a moment and grab your coffee or a Danish or something, but come right back. 2 minutes.
Sure. Okay. Thanks.
Sadly, today, most of us know at least one person that suffers from addiction or substance abuse. Addiction does not discriminate. No age, gender, race, or classes of people are immune to the horrors of addiction. This epidemic has ruined families, claimed lives, and left loved ones devastated. Over 100 people die from overdoses daily, and over 20 million Americans suffer from some form of addiction. For this reason, author Lloyd H. Bell Jr. has written the book Clean and Serene. The author is an addictions counselor and recovering addict of over 13 years. He knows and has first-hand experience of being caught in the grips of addiction. Clean and Serene provides experience, strength, and hope for the still suffering addict. It can also be used as a tool in recovery. Whether it is used in a group setting or individually, this book was written to assist in the recovery process and encourage. Integrating inspirational, encouraging, and challenging scriptures, the author has provided a resource that is sure to change lives. If you or someone you know is battling with addiction, this book is for you. If you are in recovery, this is a great resource to add to your toolbox. If you are a group leader or addictions counselor, this is an awesome book for group therapy. Clean and Serene. Scriptural Meditations for Recovery is available nationwide in both ebook and print. Get your copy or a copy for some you know today from Amazon or Barnes & Noble bookstore. For less than $10, you can potentially change the life of someone currently paying the high cost of living with an addiction.
Welcome back to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
All right, we just passed the half-hour point of our show, R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show. I am Minister Annie Bell, and I am the host and creator of this show. It is powered by We Inspire Network Radio, and wanted to just let you know that, of course, my book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Grab a copy. I hope that you'll grab a copy, read it, and then join me back when we start back our season premiere in August. That'll give you a chance to read it through, begin some of your healing processes. The name of the book is R.E.I.G.N, A Survivor's Guide to Thrive. So we tonight talking to a panel of guests who were the cast of the Black Girls Die 2, the Backpage Murders, and talking about the story of their trauma and then their walk, their pace, their journey to victory. So we were just talking to Rhoda, and I know there was a little bit of going in and out, and hopefully we have fixed that problem. And so, Rhoda, you had we're just kind of leaving off towards the end of your story of what had happened. Could you go ahead and finish off that story for us?
Oh, yes. the finalization was going on to live with my grandmother, and from that 7-month period, I was able to finally move into a place where he did not locate me and the children, and we were fine. And with time, healed those wounds where I was able to not walk around agitated and traumatized all the time, and it really helped me grow spiritually, because without spirituality, I know I would not have survived that mentally, and it would have broken me and my children, especially with the extra trauma and drama of having very ill children as well. So with that said, I tell anyone, if you're going through something, your true resilience, especially if you're a mother, the love for your children will make you so strong that you can focus and not give up. And you can also know nothing comes before your children. And I encourage every mom, especially single mothers, to always put that in their hearts and in their souls, that your children come for any need that you have physically, and everything will be fulfilled through the love for your children. So with that, I do conclude with my statement.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you also giving that word of advice, because not only are the children important, but you as the mother, you as the parent, very important to stay alive, because, again, it is a traumatic experience to witness that. And I talk about the ACE study, Adverse Childhood Experiences, and these are the experiences that have been that a child has gone through, which could cause them to, again, derail their development, their natural development. And so, but it also creates an onset of adult diseases like obesity, diabetes, heart conditions, and of course even behavioral issues where you see promiscuity and things of that sort, because again, there is a derailment of the development of that child. And so when we don't look at those areas of abuse and trauma, and then and make sure that our children have the type of therapy and counseling that helps them to heal properly, it looks like drug addiction. It looks like having 50 or more sexual partners. It looks like obesity and diabetes and heart conditions, these chronic issues physically, because the body was so stressed while they were children. So y'all know that I'm a big proponent of making sure that survivors heal properly. Sometimes we have to go back and open up that wound and allow for healing to happen from the inside out. Now, in hindsight, and I'm going to start with you, Mary. In hindsight, what do you think could have been done differently to have prevented the multiple incidences of abuse that you went through? When I reflect back on your story, I'm thinking about, well, you know, what happened to your mom that in her past that did not allow her to see or be more present? Did she suffer? Was she a survivor of abuse as well?
Well, that's basically the issue. A lot of times with abusers, often end up being people who are abusers have usually been abused themselves, and then they end up inflicting that type of pain on someone else. And so with my mom, now, I said my grandfather, she basically, he was an alcoholic since the age of 14, so before they were all even born. And there were 6 kids. My grandmother, who I was named after, she died at the age of 22, leaving behind 6 kids. My mom was the oldest, and she was 6. And so all of the kids, because he wasn't a fit parent, he was an alcoholic, they separated all of them into different foster homes. Well, my mom became emancipated at the age of 14. They told her that she was, mature enough to take care of herself. So at the age of 14, she's out on her own living the world.
Oh, Lord.
there was someone who attempted to rape her and basically, stabbed her in the leg. Come to find out that was a cousin. She didn't know it was a cousin until later on, but she was misguided because growing up, the person who was mentoring her, I guess at the time, when she found a family, this family told her, listen, you can get pregnant by kissing. So while it put fear into her, it didn't educate her. Mm-hmm. And so when she finally did, when she had me, she was still a teenager, still learning. She was working, more than one job to try to provide or whatever. My father was basically a Rolling Stone. I have a sister that's 5 days older than me, and then 5 other brothers and sisters that he had outside. So, and he was an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. I finally met him at the age of 19, and he took me to a bar. That's the first place he took me. I guess it's the only place he knew to took me to a bar. And so the education level, the issue of the absent father from the home, but also, if he had been there, would it have been better? No, there wouldn't have been any stability. So the absence of the stability in a dysfunctional home, it opens you up. Like today, these children, they have to deal with so much.
Yes,
growing up as kids, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers, we didn't have access to social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of what they have now to leave them open and vulnerable to the outside world and to predators. But back then, we just had predators to deal with, and a lot of times predators were someone close to us in our family.
Well, 98% of those who violate children, they know the child. The child knows them. So, those are some horrendous statistics that are true to life. And I like that. I like what you're sharing. Is basically saying that prevention. We have to first recognize that sometimes there are generational issues that are happening that happened with our forefathers, and that needs to be addressed. And then again, so that the dysfunction will be alleviated. Now, what do you think, Rhoda? In your situation, what do you think could have been different to prevent the not just, I guess it was both of y'all abusing each other, but what could have prevented that? What could have prevented that?
Honestly, the only thing that could have prevented that, to be honest, from my background and the home life that I had, I came up more or less of my dad would be more like a Huxtable household. So this whole lifestyle of alcoholic and abusive person totally new. So I was in uncharted waters at that time in my life. The only thing that could have been done differently for me is I should have left when I saw the sign. However, I did not. So I tell anyone, if you see the sign and the first time you ever get into a verbal, mental, physical, abusive matter with a male, or a male gets into that with a female, that is your cue to go. You'll save yourself like a 5-year long-lived torture session if you go ahead and take heed to the first warning sign. So that's what I would have done differently, is taking heed to the first sign.
Yeah, I like that. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm a survivor as well of child sexual abuse, and I grew up I became very assertive and aggressive because I didn't want anyone to mess with me. But one of the things when I was anytime I dated a guy, I mean, if I would go the first date, I would let them know, don't ever hit me, don't play with my money. If we have kids, don't ever hit my kids. I mean, 5 things that I'm gonna tell you right off the bat that will make me drop you, because I didn't want there to be any confusion when your butt is left on the curb because you thought hitting me was cool. Because like I said, if you're gonna hit me, you better make sure I'm dead, because when I get up, that's it. And I'm 4'11", 105 pounds, and I talk a lot of crap, but I can back it up a little bit. Now, how about you, Lamarc? What do you think, just in hindsight, could have been different for the abuse that you had gone through, and also the abuse that you have witnessed?
I can't say. Well, I could say had I told my mother. But again, as a child, and maybe it was the whole stigma of being a black child, in the neighborhood, things like that. I was unaware of. My mother never sat me down and said, there's a possibility that somebody could do something, and if they do, tell me.
But you just
we just didn't have that. We just didn't have that in our neighborhood.
Right. But you that's a part of prevention, and that's part of what we do on the show, is to say, make sure that people are having those conversations with their children, to say, hey, if somebody is touching you in your areas, in your private parts, and we call them by name, penis, we call it breast, we call it vagina in our home, because we want to make sure that there's no, confusion of, ta-ta and boom booms. We don't say that. And so, Lamarc, I think you really hit a point right there to say that part of prevention is that we must talk about it with our children. I started talking about it with our kids when they were starting when they were 1 year old. Of course, using language that they understand, and making sure that they feel comfortable to be able to come to me. And I've even told them, if mommy does something wrong, I need you to go and tell daddy. If daddy does something wrong, come and tell mommy. There's nobody who can do anything wrong to them and that we will not address. And so, Lamarc, I think that you really hit a powerful point. Now, we only have a few more minutes. I can't believe my hour is almost up. But I definitely want to make sure I give you some time to talk about your future endeavors. And I don't think I've allowed Rhoda to go first yet. So I'm going to let her go first, and just talk about your books and what else what you're doing for the future.
Well, my future endeavors is in July. A book will be coming out titled "Leave Your Baggage Behind." It has a total of 15 authors. I'm one of the co-authors of that book, and it's with the Professional Women's Network. And so that book will be coming out in July. And again, the book that I currently author is a very short book about my daughter's rare medical condition that just pretty much pulls things together, just give people perspective and a glance of what our lives are like, living with so many constraints due to her rare disability. And the title of that book is Positive Winning Soul, Defeating Prader-Willi Syndrome. And I can be found on Facebook, and my Facebook page for that is author Rhoda Ross Williams, and it is at Positive Winning Soul, or PWS. And so that's one that you can find. And also in regards to the movie, I would encourage everyone to follow Black Girls Dive 2, the Backpage Murders Facebook page, because they will be updating current on when the movie will be available to the public.
Very good. Thank you very much, Rhoda. Now, how about you, Lamarc? What are your future endeavors? What's going on with you? And how can my audience get in touch with you?
Well, what I have going on right now, I have written, produced, and I am starring and directing in a film called Deceptive Heart. It's in production right now. Shout out to Aaron Harris, Sharon McFarthing, Marvin Vance, Christina Fuentes. I'm also writing another script. It's called Multiple. Look for that pretty soon. And there's another project that's coming this summer. I can't really speak that much on that one. It's just keep your ears peeled. Trust me, it's going to be big. And you can reach me on my fan page at Lamarc Bishop on Facebook. You can also follow me on Instagram at Lamarc Bishop 23, or you can email me at lamarcbishop23@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. How about you, Mary Field?
Okay, well, I'm working on several things. I'm actually one of the extras in Deceptive Heart. Thanks, Lamarc. And I am I'm writing a book. I'm actually halfway done with it. It's called After the Storm, and it's a book, but it's also, I'm turning it into a docudrama. It's basically about what you kind of heard tonight, a little bit of it, but it's based on a true story. And I'm also working on a CD called Purify. It's a gospel inspirational CD. So I've got that. Got a book of poems that I've got to complete, but it's in the works, and just looking to be in a little bit more movies. I will also be in a stage play, The Baileys, in September. So got a few things going on. And I also think I'm one of the people that's going to be in multiple, written and produced by Lamarc Bishop. Right, Lamarc?
Yes.
Wow. That is wonderful. I love the network, and I love the camaraderie that y'all have. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your life story and seeing the victory, seeing what victory looks like and what thrive looks like after trauma and abuse. So thank you so much for being a part of my panel tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having
us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I just want to take a minute before we go off the air to just say thank you for all of our fans that have allowed us into your homes these past 8 months of this season, but we are going into our season 3 in August. Our show has gone into more than 15 different countries. I'm just still floored by that. We're talking about Australia, Nigeria, Ghana, Scotland, Germany, Philippines. We're just in so many countries and across, of course, United States. So thank you for opening up your doors to allow R.E.I.G.N, the Blog Talk Radio show, in. And it is my endeavor that my prayer that victims will be rescued and ways of escape be made for those who are currently being victimized. And we will continue to take part of helping survivors heal and bring awareness and rescue and prevention to prevent these things. So even though we will be gone off the air for the 4 months, we'll be doing a lot of work to continue this on. We also have the Triumph Tour that might come to your city near you. Call me at 201-477-0469 if you would like to bring your the Triumph Tour there, where we are teaching the community, church staff, and any children's ministry on how to protect the kids. So to make a donation or get in touch with me or my team, please go to www.wealthmngt.org or follow us on Facebook and Twitter at R.E.I.G.N, Stop Abuse and Abolish Sex Trafficking. Also go to YouTube channel at R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk and become a subscriber so that you're not going to miss a show when we come back for our premiere season. And in our premiere season, we actually have an ex-pimp lined up to talk about the things that he did to keep his prey, if you want to call them, in line, and how he got the women to do sex acts for him, for his pockets. But anyway, repeat after me. I reclaim my life. I excel at living. I illuminate the dark. I grow in Christ, and I nurture myself and others. Let's reign together with Christ. We will see you in August on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Down, afraid to let it out, shackles, the chain, the hurt, the guilt, stain. together. I reign, you reign, we reign, he reigns. I reign, we reign together, together. Say it. I reign, you reign, we reign, he reigns. I reign, we reign together, 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 together.